Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man. It should be evident to you by now who the Israelites are, you so-called black, Latinos, and Native Americans. But if it isn't, I'm going to play you a clip proving that it is, because they know. Esau knows who you are, and he's coming after you. This whole campaign, this whole pandemic was their ending and our beginning. They have but a little time, so they have to put everything into play, knowing that their time is almost up. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So we're not going to fall for your science or your, your media to tell us that what we see isn't what we see. That these vaccines is in our best interest, and that we, out of the millions of Americans that's been vaccinated, need to be vaccinated. That we are the so-called minority, but yet you still trying to vaccinate us. When I thought herd immunity was 70%, if we don't even make up 70%, why are you targeting your campaign against us? Because they know just who we are, and they hoping that you stay asleep and that you will continue to fall for their lies. Let's read that again. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So we're not going to wait. We're not going to fall for those inaccurate statistics that you putting out there to fool the public into believing that we need to be vaccinated, that this so-called virus is targeting us more than the other communities. That's you fudging the numbers. That's you telling your narrative. That's you coming to the end of your run, pulling out everything you got. This is your last stop. Everything that's going on right now in this whole world is because the Israelites are awakening. And they calling you out, and they know who you are. And most important, we know who we are, and we know who our power is. Right? So like I said, I'm gonna play this clip showing that they know who we are. That we are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites. You so-called black Latinos and Native Americans, and they coming after you. In particular, the ones in the truth, you so-called, like I said, you so-called black Latinos, Native Americans, you in the truth, they want you first. Or they gonna get you eventually. They coming after you. But we don't fear no man. For our power is Yahweh. We fear him that can kill the body and the soul. So they know. They just gonna come on out. They gonna come down with draconian laws. They gonna make things more difficult in these last days. They're gonna pretend like they doing something for you, give you these stimulus checks, take it back. Just like when Pharaoh told the Israelite when we was coming out of Egypt, take away the brick, take away the straw, make it harder for them to make brick. They're gonna try to make it as hard as possible on us in these last days to try to break us. And then they're gonna just come all out, knowing what they have but a little time. So I'm going to play that clip for you and let you hear it out of Esau's mouth himself.
Look, while millions of Americans have already gotten the vaccine and millions more are already to get it, we also know we need to address vaccine hesitancy and build trust in many communities. We know that's the case, for example, in Black, Latino, and Native American communities. People who have not always been treated with dignity and honesty they deserve by the federal government and the scientific community throughout our history. We also see that disinformation campaigns are already underway to further undermine trust in the vaccines. Our administration will launch a massive
disinformation. So I guess telling the truth is being disinformed. Telling us who we are, our true heritage, and that it's not in our culture that we should take things unclean and put them into our temple. That's disinformation. See, this is Esau speaking with a double tongue. This is him being cunning and deceiving. That's why he is the devil that the Bible speak of. He is the deceiver. You got to be careful and watch out for these people, these Edomites.
Public education campaign to rebuild that trust will help people understand what science tells us, that the vaccines help reduce the risk of COVID infections and can better safeguard our health and the health of our families and our communities. It's a critical piece to account for a tragic reality of the disproportionate impact this virus has had on Black, Latinos, and Native American people who are being infected about.
Once again, Black, Latino, and Native Americans. These people know. Esau know. He know what time it is. He's coming after you so-called Black, Latinos, and Native Americans. You Israelites. And if you ain't protected, you gonna fall prey to him. And you know I'm gonna get that scripture at the end of this, so you don't fall prey to him.
4 times the rate of white Americans and dying at nearly 3 times the rate of white Americans. This is unacceptable. It's unconscionable. Equity is central to our COVID response. And the Vice President and I commit to making sure communities of color and rural neighborhoods, those living with disabilities and seniors, are not left behind in our vaccination plans. Look, our plan is as clear as it is bold. Get more people vaccinated for free. Create more places for them to get vaccinated. Mobilize more medical teams to get the shots in people's arms. Increase supply and get it out the door as soon as possible. This will be one of the most challenging operational efforts ever undertaken by our country. But you have my word that we will manage the hell out of this operation. But as I said last night, we need funding from Congress to make this happen. And I'm optimistic. I'm convinced the American people are ready to spare no effort and no expense to get this done. All these steps will take some time. It may take many months to get where we need to be. There will be stumbles. And yes, I know so much has already been asked of you. And when we're sworn in next week, we're going to ask you to keep the faith and keep following what we know works. One of our 100-day challenges is to mask up everyone. The day we're inaugurated, I'm going to ask you to mask up for the next 100 days. This is not a political issue. And I will issue an executive order to require masks where I have the authority to do that. And for federal workers, and federal property, and interstate travel, like trains and planes. We'll also be working with mayors and governors in red states and blue states and ask them to require masking up in their cities and their states. Look, I hope we now know this is not a political issue. This is about saving lives. I know it's become a partisan issue, but what a stupid, stupid thing for it to happen. This is a patriotic act. We're asking you. We're in a war with this virus. And experts saying have shown that wearing a mask from now until April will save as many as 50,000 lives. Quite frankly, it was shocking to see members of the Congress, while the Capitol was under siege by a deadly mob of thugs, refusing to wear a mask while they were in secure locations. I'm so proud of my congresswoman right here in the state of Delaware, Lisa Brunt Rochester, trying to hand out masks while people are lying on the floor, huddled up, and our Republican colleagues refusing to put them on. What the hell's the matter with them? It's time to grow up. The result? At least 4 members of Congress to date, including a cancer survivor, now have COVID-19 who are in those rooms. For God's sake, wear a mask, if not for yourself, for your loved ones, for your country. These are real matters of life and death. We need you to stick with hand washing, social distancing, and avoid indoor gatherings with people outside your own household. We'll be a partner to the states and cities, so where things are working, we'll help do more of the good work. And when things can improve, we'll bring more resources to bear to get folks tested and vaccinated.
And don't be surprised from that stage coup that happened last week, first week of January, that they bring in more troops to have in place when they start rounding up Israelites in these FEMA camps. Like it said in Isaiah, the enemy shall come in like a flood, but the Spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. So keep your faith. Don't fear. Know what's coming. Be prepared. Be forewarned.
I promise you, we're going to work closely with nonprofits and with the private sector, who we know all want to partner with us in this effort. The more people we vaccinate, and the faster we do it, the sooner we can put this pandemic behind us. And the sooner we can build our economy back better and get back to our lives and to our loved ones. As we're seeing during this pandemic, we can't solve our problems as a divided nation. The only way we come through this is if we come through together as Americans, fellow Americans, and as the United States of America. Vice President-elect Harris and I ran on that vision. And starting at noon on Wednesday, that's exactly how we're going to govern and ask for your help. God bless you all and keep you safe. And may God protect our troops. Thank you.
There you have it. This is Psalms 55:21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So this is Esau for you, man. So-called white race, the Caucasians. This is how they do it. This is how they get down before they wage war. They smooth talk you. They put you in a state of, peace. Like it said, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So he's letting you know he's getting ready to wage war. He's getting ready to come for you, you so-called blacks, Latino, and Native Americans, as he said. They need you to be vaccinated. When you don't even make up half of the population, let their numbers tell it. We are a small percentage. We are a minority. But yet they want to come get us. Us, the unprivileged, and give us this vaccine for free. So you got to be prepared. You got to be ready. You got to be in this word to know what's going on, or else you're going to be swept away. So let me go get that scripture I close out with, and we're going to go from there. This is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So if you fall for what he's telling you, he got you. That's one less person he has to worry about trying to convince. He could just use his media. He could just use his cutting words and have you come down and volunteer for yourself to these mobile vaccine pop-up stairs, wherever they put them at. They're going to just have you come in willingly and take these vaccines. And what next after that? You're going to come in willingly and take this RFID microchip. So like I just read in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. And with that being said, peace, shalom.